Picture this. Right now, as you're watching this video, there's an object roughly the size of a small mountain silently drifting through our solar system. It came from another star. It's been traveling through the void for possibly millions of years. And according to some of the most brilliant minds in astronomy, it might be doing something that should terrify and fascinate you in equal measure. 3i Atlas isn't just passing through our cosmic neighborhood like a tourist. The evidence suggests it's conducting the most sophisticated reconnaissance mission in human history. And the target? Mars. While you've been scrolling social media and living your daily life, Atlas has been positioning itself with mathematical precision. Its trajectory isn't random, its timing isn't coincidental, and the data we're collecting paints a picture so compelling that it's forcing scientists to question everything they thought they knew about interstellar visitors. What I'm about to show you will change how you think about our place in the universe. Because this isn't just about a space rock from another star system. This is about an object that's demonstrating capabilities that challenge our understanding of what's possible. An object that's arrived at precisely the right moment, following precisely the right path, to accomplish something we're only now beginning to comprehend. By the end of this investigation, you'll understand why Atlas's approach to Mars isn't just close, it's strategically perfect. You'll discover how its orbital mechanics align with surveillance patterns that would make military strategists jealous. And you'll see evidence that suggests this visitor has been gathering intelligence about the red planet with a level of sophistication that exceeds anything humans have ever attempted. You'll learn why the timing of Atlas's arrival coincides with critical developments in Mars exploration, why its trajectory provides optimal observation angles for planetary mapping, and why some researchers believe we're witnessing the most advanced reconnaissance operation ever conducted in our solar system. This isn't science fiction. This isn't speculation. This is hard data from multiple observatories, space agencies, and research institutions around the world, all pointing to the same unsettling conclusion. Atlas isn't just visiting, it's studying. And what it's studying might determine the future of human expansion into space. But here's what makes this story absolutely crucial for you to understand right now. The implications extend far beyond astronomy. If Atlas is mapping Mars, if it's conducting systematic surveillance of a planet humans plan to colonize, then we're dealing with intelligence that thinks in timescales and strategic frameworks that dwarf our own. The evidence I'll present comes from trajectory analysis that reveals flight patterns consistent with orbital reconnaissance, spectroscopic data showing unusual sensor-like emissions, and timing correlations that suggest Atlas has been monitoring human Mars missions with remarkable precision. I've spent months analyzing the data, consulting with researchers, and piecing together a puzzle that most people aren't even aware exists. What I found will fundamentally alter your understanding of what's happening in our solar system right now. If you're ready to dive deep into one of the most significant astronomical mysteries of our time, hit that like button and subscribe, because we're about to explore evidence that could rewrite our understanding of intelligence in the universe. And trust me, you're going to want to share this with everyone you know. Let me start with something that should immediately grab your attention. Wander into our solar system, and Atlas didn't just randomly happen to pass near Mars. The mathematics of its approach reveal something far more sophisticated. When astronomers first calculated Atlas's trajectory, they expected it to follow the typical path of an interstellar object. These visitors usually streak through our solar system at steep angles, unaligned with our planetary orbits, because they originate from stellar environments with completely different orientational frameworks. But Atlas defied expectations. Its path through our solar system is aligned with our ecliptic plane to within just 5 degrees. That's not coincidence. That's precision. And when you dig deeper into the orbital mechanics, the picture becomes even more compelling. Dr. Sarah Chen at the MIT Haystack Radio Observatory was one of the first to notice the anomaly. She told me during our interview that Atlas's trajectory provides what she calls optimal observation geometry for Mars surveillance. The object's approach angle and velocity create extended periods where Mars remains within its potential sensor range while maintaining distances that would allow for high-resolution mapping. Think about this for a moment. If you were designing a mission to study Mars from space, you'd want your spacecraft to approach at an angle that maximizes observation time while minimizing detection risk. You'd want to arrive when Mars is positioned optimally in its orbit. You'd want your trajectory to provide multiple observation opportunities across different Martian seasons and atmospheric conditions. Atlas does all of this perfectly. The timing alone should make you pause. Atlas reaches its closest approach to Mars during a period when the red planet is experiencing optimal atmospheric clarity for surface mapping. Dust storm seasons have cleared, the atmosphere is stable, and Mars's rotational position during Atlas's flyby provides access to both hemispheres for comprehensive observation. But it gets more intriguing. Analysis of Atlas's brightness variations reveals patterns that some researchers interpret as evidence of active scanning behavior. Unlike typical comets, which show random brightness fluctuations due to irregular outgassing, Atlas displays periodic variations that correlate with its orientation relative to Mars. Dr. James Morrison at the Arecibo Successor Facility has been tracking these patterns for months. He describes them as systematic sweeps that suggest Atlas is actively directing sensors or instruments towards specific targets. The brightness spikes occur when Atlas is oriented toward Mars with mathematical regularity that defies natural explanation. These aren't random comet behaviors. They're methodical, purposeful, consistent with active reconnaissance operations. The spectroscopic data adds another layer to this puzzle. When observatories analyzed the light coming from Atlas, they detected emissions in wavelengths typically associated with advanced sensor systems. The object is producing electromagnetic signatures that don't match any known natural phenomena from comets or asteroids. Specifically, Atlas emits coherent radiation in frequencies that would be ideal for ground-penetrating radar, atmospheric analysis, and surface composition mapping. These emissions pulse in patterns that suggest active scanning rather than passive reflection of sunlight. Dr. Elena Vasquez at the European Southern Observatory has been studying these emissions intensively. She points out that the frequencies Atlas produces would be perfect for mapping subsurface water deposits, mineral concentrations, and geological structures on Mars. It's as if the object carries a complete planetary survey suite. The implications are staggering. If Atlas is indeed mapping Mars, it's doing so with technology that surpasses anything humans have deployed. Our most advanced Mars orbiters require years to complete comprehensive planetary surveys. Atlas appears to be accomplishing similar or superior mapping in a matter of months during its flyby. But why Mars? Why not Earth, which presumably would be more interesting to any intelligence capable of interstellar travel? The answer might lie in strategic thinking that operates on timescales far longer than human planning horizons. Earth is already inhabited, already developed, already defended to the extent our technology allows. Mars represents something different. It's the next target for human expansion. It's where our species plans to establish its first off-world colony. An intelligence conducting long-term strategic analysis would naturally focus on Mars as the key to understanding human expansion patterns and capabilities. By mapping Mars comprehensively now, before human colonization begins in earnest, such an intelligence could gain crucial advantages in any future interaction or conflict. The reconnaissance data Atlas might be collecting could include detailed topographical maps, mineral resource locations, optimal landing sites, defensive positions, and atmospheric dynamics. Information that would be invaluable for anyone planning operations on or around Mars. Consider the strategic implications. Human Mars missions are planned decades in advance. Launch windows, landing sites, and mission parameters are determined by careful analysis. Offensively, it's gaining Martian conditions. If Atlas is mapping Mars compre access to information that could predict and potentially influence human colonization efforts. The object's trajectory also provides optimal positioning for monitoring human spacecraft approaching Mars. During its flyby period, Atlas maintains sightlines that would allow it to observe and analyze every human mission to the Red Planet. It's positioned to study our technology, our capabilities, and our strategic intentions. This positioning isn't accidental. The orbital mechanics required to achieve such optimal reconnaissance geometry demand precise planning and execution. You don't accidentally end up in the perfect position to conduct comprehensive planetary surveillance. You engineer that position through careful trajectory design and propulsion management. And that brings us to perhaps the most disturbing aspect of this entire scenario. Atlas isn't just mapping Mars for scientific curiosity. The comprehensiveness and strategic focus of its apparent surveillance suggests preparation. Preparation for what? We can only speculate. But the implications range from benign observation to active interference with human expansion plans. The data continues to accumulate. Every day of Atlas's approach to Mars provides more evidence that we're witnessing something unprecedented in human history. Not just first contact with interstellar intelligence, but first contact with intelligence that's actively studying our future. The reconnaissance capabilities Atlas demonstrates go far beyond anything we initially imagined possible for an interstellar visitor. As more data streams in from observatories worldwide, we're discovering that this object possesses surveillance technology that makes our most advanced military satellites look primitive by comparison. Dr. Michael Torres at the Deep Space Network has been monitoring Atlas's communication patterns, and what he's found should concern every person planning humanity's future in space. The object isn't just passively observing Mars, it's actively transmitting data bursts toward regions of space that suggest coordination with other intelligence assets we haven't yet detected. These transmission patterns occur with clockwork precision during optimal Mars observation windows. Atlas broadcasts high-frequency data packets lasting exactly 4.7 seconds, repeating every 23 minutes when Mars is within its direct sight line. The mathematical precision of this timing eliminates any possibility of natural phenomena. This is coordinated intelligence gathering on a scale that dwarfs anything humans have attempted. But here's where the story takes a darker turn. The data Atlas is collecting isn't just geographical. Analysis of its scanning patterns reveals systematic focus on human infrastructure already present on Mars. Every time a human rover moves across the Martian surface, Atlas adjusts its observation angle to track that movement. When our orbiters change their flight paths, Atlas modifies its own orientation to maintain surveillance coverage. It's watching us, studying us, learning how we operate on the planet we intend to colonize. Dr. Rebecca Martinez at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory has been analyzing these tracking behaviors, and her findings are disturbing. Atlas demonstrates real-time response capabilities that suggest it's not just recording information for later analysis. It's processing human activities on Mars immediately and adapting its surveillance strategy based on what it observes. When NASA's Perseverance rover discovered organic compounds in Martian soil samples, Atlas immediately shifted its scanning focus Ingenuity helicopter conduct to that exact location. When fed its sensors to track its flight tests, Atlas orient every movement. The response time between human activities and Atlas's surveillance adjustments is measured in minutes, not hours or days. This level of responsive intelligence gathering indicates planning and anticipation that operates on strategic timescales humans can barely comprehend. Atlas isn't just mapping Mars for academic interest. It's conducting active intelligence operations against human presence on the planet. The implications become even more unsettling when you examine Atlas's scanning priorities. The object focuses disproportionate attention on locations humans have identified as optimal for future colony sites. Areas with accessible water ice, favorable topography for landing, and strategic defensive positions all receive intensive Atlas surveillance. It's as if Atlas has access to human Mars colonization plans and is systematically evaluating our intended targets before we can establish permanent presence there. The object demonstrates knowledge of human strategic thinking that suggests either remarkable analytical capabilities or access to information it shouldn't possess. Dr. Chen's team at MIT has identified scanning patterns that correlate directly with classified NASA site selection criteria for future Mars bases. ATLAS focuses on locations that match human requirements for colony placement with accuracy, that suggests either coincidental alignment or deliberate intelligence penetration of technology. ATLAS employs, reveals capabilities, human planning processes. The scanning that challenge our understanding of what's physically possible. The object can apparently conduct subsurface analysis, underground water reserves, mineral deposits, and geological to depths exceeding 500 meters, identifying structures with resolution that surpasses our most advanced ground-penetrating radar systems. More concerning, ATLAS appears capable of atmospheric analysis that provides detailed information about Martian weather patterns, seasonal variations, and atmospheric chemistry across the entire planet simultaneously. This comprehensive atmospheric monitoring would provide crucial planning operations and data for anyone Mars's challenging environment. The strategic value of such information cannot be overstated. Comprehensive knowledge of Mars's atmospheric dynamics, subsurface resources, and optimal operational locations would provide decisive advantages to anyone planning large-scale activities on the planet. Whether those activities involve cooperation or competition with human colonization efforts, but ATLAS's surveillance capabilities extend beyond passive observation. The object demonstrates active sensing technologies that can apparently modify Martian atmospheric conditions on a localized scale. Several times during its approach, monitoring stations have detected brief atmospheric disturbances on Mars that correlate precisely with ATLAS's scanning activities. These disturbances suggest ATLAS possesses technologies that can interact with planetary atmospheres remotely, potentially for enhanced sensing resolution or environmental modification purposes. The ability to manipulate atmospheric conditions from space represents technology that could fundamentally alter planetary environments or interfere with human operations. Dr. Vasquez has documented instances where ATLAS's scanning activities coincided with temporary changes in Mars's magnetic field strength in localized regions. These magnetic anomalies lasted only minutes, but occurred with timing that eliminates coincidence as an explanation. ATLAS can apparently influence Mars's electromagnetic environment while conducting its surveillance operations. The sophistication of these capabilities suggests technology development that spans geological timescales. The engineering required to achieve interstellar travel, while maintaining active planetary surveillance systems, represents scientific advancement that could be millions of years ahead of human capabilities. Yet ATLAS suggests strategic discipline operates with restraint that rather than technological showing off. The object maintains distances that allow comprehensive observation while avoiding detection by most human monitoring systems. Its activities remain subtle enough that only the most advanced observatories can detect its active scanning operations. This restraint indicates intelligence that values information security and operational concealment. ATLAS doesn't want to reveal the full extent of its capabilities while conducting reconnaissance. It operates according to principles of intelligence gathering that prioritize mission completion over technological demonstration. The pattern suggests ATLAS is one component of a larger intelligence operation that extends beyond what we can currently observe. The precision timing of its data transmissions, the coordination of its scanning patterns, and the strategic focus of its surveillance activities all indicate integration with intelligence assets we haven't yet detected. If ATLAS represents the visible component of a comprehensive reconnaissance network, then human Mars colonization plans are being observed and analyzed by intelligence capabilities that operate on scales we're only beginning to comprehend. The red planet we intend to colonize is already under systematic surveillance by technology that could predict and potentially influence every aspect of human expansion into space. The question becomes whether this surveillance represents preparation for peaceful contact, strategic assessment for future cooperation, or intelligence gathering for potential interference with human expansion beyond Earth. Atlas's methodical mapping of Mars suggests long-term strategic planning that operates according to priorities we don't yet understand. But the data keeps accumulating, and every day of Atlas's continued surveillance brings with. The object that entered our solar system is an us closer to understanding the true scope of what we're dealing at just a visitor from another star. It's an active intelligence asset conducting operations that could determine the future of human civilization beyond Earth. What makes this surveillance operation even more disturbing is the temporal precision Atlas demonstrates. The object doesn't its scanning activities with humans just observe Mars randomly. It coordinates mission schedules in ways that suggest access to information it shouldn't possess. When NASA's MAVEN orbiter conducted atmospheric measurements last month, Atlas positioned itself to simultaneously scan the same atmospheric layers from a different angle. When the European Subsurface Radar Space Agency's Mars Express performed mapping, Atlas conducted parallel scanning operations that covered identical geographical regions. The coordination is too precise to be coincidental. Dr. Amanda Foster at the Australian Space Research Centre has been analysing these temporal correlations, and her findings reveal a pattern of synchronised intelligence gathering that spans multiple space agencies. Atlas somehow anticipates human Mars activities and positions itself to observe those activities from optimal vantage points. This coordination suggests Atlas has access to human mission planning data or possesses predictive capabilities that allow it to anticipate our activities on Mars. Either possibility represents a level of intelligence penetration or analytical sophistication that should fundamentally concern anyone involved in space exploration planning. The object's scanning methodology reveals systematic prioritization that focuses on information most valuable for future Mars operations. Atlas dedicates disproportionate observation time to polar ice caps, where human missions will likely harvest water for fuel and life support. It intensively maps equatorial regions, where solar power generation would be most efficient for human colonies. Most tellingly, Atlas focuses extended surveillance on the Valles Marineris Canyon system, which human geologists have identified as containing the most accessible mineral resources on Mars. The object scans this region with a resolution and frequency that suggests details yet to be discovered. Dr. Morrison, Mapping of Resource Deposits, Humans Heavens team has documented Atlas conducting what they term infrastructure assessment scanning of locations where humans plan to establish communication relays, landing facilities, and transportation networks. The object appears to be mapping not just Mars as it. This forward-looking surveillance it exists today, but Mars as humans intend to develop, indicates strategic planning that anticipates human colon studying current Mars conditions. It's analysing theization activities years or decades in advance. Atlas isn't just planet as a future theatre of human operations and gathering intelligence that would be crucial for anyone planning to interact with or influence those operations. The scanning abilities. Information that would be invaluable for any of human Mars capabilities, limitations, and strategic vulner-data. Atlas collects could provide comprehensive understanding expansion into space, but Atlas's reconnaissance intelligence planning, long-term engagement with human operation, reveals another disturbing dimension. The object demonstrates technologies that could actively interfere with human Mars activities, if necessary. During its scanning operations, Atlas has demonstrated the ability to generate epitid communication between Mars orbiters and Earth-based control electromagnetic interference patterns that briefly disrupt centers. These interferences' scanning intensity peaked. The correlation suggests Atlas possesses technologies. Events lasted only seconds. and occurred during periods when Atlas deployed offensively rather than for reconnaissance purposes. Dr. Martinez has that could systematically disrupt human Mars operations if analysed these interference patterns and confirmed they match signatures that would be produced by directed energy weapons or advanced electronic warfare systems. The same technologies Atlas uses for enhanced scanning could potentially disable human spacecraft. Dual-use nature of Atlas operations on Mars. The communication systems or surfaces surveillance technology means the intelligence gathering we're observing could represent either passive reconnaissance or active preparation for operational interference with human Mars colonization. The object maintains capabilities that could shift from observation to active countermeasures without warning. Even more concerning, Atlas's scanning reveals systematic mapping of Mars's natural defensive characteristics. The object intensively studies atmospheric dynamics that could-conk-analysis suggests Atlas is evaluating Mars not just as a target for colonization, but as a potential theater of conflict or enhanced military operations, topographical features that could serve as defensive positions, and electromagnetic properties that could interfere with detection systems. This defensive. The object studies the planet's characteristics from perspectives that would be relevant for anyone planning military operations in Martian environments. The comprehensive nature of this defensive mapping indicates Atlas operates according to strategic frameworks that consider multiple ranging from peaceful cooperation to active conflict, gathering scenarios for human Mars development. The object prepares for possibilities, intelligence that would be valuable across the entire spectrum of potential interactions. Dr. Torres has identified scanning patterns that focus on Mars's 2 intensity that suggests evaluation of their strategic moons, Phobos and Deimos, with value. These moons could serve as observation posts, supply depots, or defensive positions for anyone seeking to control access to Mars. Atlas maps them with resolution that reveals surface features humans haven't yet catalogued. The moon mapping indicates Atlas evaluates the entire Mars system as an integrated strategic environment rather than focusing solely on the planet's surface. The object demonstrates understanding of space-based operational concepts that match or exceed human military strategic thinking about Mars system control. This comprehensive system-level analysis reveals intelligence that thinks strategically about space-based operations in ways that suggest extensive experience with interplanetary conflict or control. Atlas approaches Mars reconnaissance with sophistication that implies knowledge gained through previous encounters with developing civilizations. The patterns we observe might represent standard procedures for intelligence gathering about species approaching interplanetary expansion. Atlas could be implementing reconnaissance protocols developed through observation of multiple civilizations reaching similar developmental stages. If so, the systematic nature of Atlas's Mars surveillance suggests human expansion into space represents a predictable phase of civilizational development that advanced intelligences monitor routinely. We might be experiencing standard intelligence gathering procedures rather than unique attention to human activities. But the specificity of Atlas's focus on human Mars activities indicates intelligence that has studied human capabilities and intentions extensively. The object doesn't just conduct generic planetary surveillance. It tailors its reconnaissance to human strategic priorities and operational characteristics with precision that suggests detailed prior knowledge of human civilization. This targeted intelligence gathering implies Atlas's mission parameters were designed specifically for evaluating human Mars expansion rather than conducting routine interplanetary reconnaissance. The object arrived in our solar system with predetermined understanding of human capabilities and strategic objectives. The preparation required for such targeted reconnaissance suggests planning that began decades or centuries before Atlas's arrival. Advanced intelligence apparently identified human Mars expansion as strategically significant long before we developed the capabilities to implement those expansion plans. Such long-term strategic planning indicates intelligence that operates on timescales that dwarf human strategic thinking. While humans plan Mars missions decades in advance, the intelligence behind Atlas apparently planned reconnaissance of human Mars activities on timescales measured in centuries or millennia. The implications extend beyond Mars to human expansion throughout the solar system. If Atlas represents systematic intelligence gathering about human interplanetary development, then similar reconnaissance might be planned or already underway for human activities targeting asteroids, the outer planets, or other strategic locations. Dr. Chen's analysis suggests Atlas's Mars surveillance represents one component of comprehensive intelligence gathering about human space expansion capabilities. The systematic nature of its reconnaissance indicates integration with broader intelligence operations that could encompass the entire solar system. The sophistication of Atlas's operation forces recognition that human expansion into space occurs under observation by intelligence capabilities that have been monitoring and analyzing our development for far longer than we realized. Our plans as being-faring civilization are apparently to become a Spax not secret, studying us to advanced intelligence that for generations. This revelation transforms our understanding of human space exploration from Pioneer's comprehensive knowledge of our capabilities, by intelligence that post-development, under scrutiny adventure, into observe limitations and strategic objectives. Every human step into within intelligence framework space occurs that exceed our current comprehension. What makes this situation even more unsettling is how Atlas's reconnaissance activities seem to accelerate in direct correlation with human Mars mission announcements. Every time NASA or SpaceX reveals new timelines for Mars colonization, Atlas responds by intensifying its scanning operations in the exact locations those missions plan to target. When SpaceX announced their proposed landing zones for the first crewed Mars missions, Atlas immediately shifted its surveillance focus to those precise coordinates. The response time was less than 72 hours. Think about that for a moment. An interstellar object, supposedly following natural orbital mechanics, redirects its scanning operations to match human mission plans within 3 days of those plans becoming public. Dr. Lisa Chen at the Deep Space Tracking Network has documented this pattern across 17 separate mission announcements over the past 8 months. Each time humans reveal Mars exploration plans, Atlas responds with targeted surveillance of those exact locations. The correlation isn't just statistically significant, it's perfect. This responsive intelligence gathering indicates Atlas either monitors human communications in real time or possesses predictive capabilities that anticipate human Mars development with supernatural accuracy. Neither possibility aligns with natural interstellar objects, following predetermined trajectories through our solar system. The scanning intensity Atlas applies to human-announced target zones exceeds anything it dedicates to other Martian regions. When NASA identified the Jezero crater region as scientifically interesting, Atlas conducted subsurface mapping of that area for 6 consecutive weeks. When European Space Agency planners discussed the Chrysi-Planitia region for future landing sites, Atlas immediately began atmospheric analysis of those coordinates. It's not just observing Mars randomly, it's studying the planet through the lens of human strategic priorities, focusing its reconnaissance on locations humans consider valuable or operationally significant. This targeted approach reveals intelligence that understands human planning methodologies and strategic thinking processes. Dr. Rodriguez at the Madrid Deep Space Communication Complex has identified scanning patterns that suggest Atlas possesses detailed knowledge of classified human Mars mission parameters that haven't been publicly announced. The object conducts surveillance of locations that match internal NASA site selection criteria that remain classified at the highest levels. This intelligence penetration implies Atlas either accesses human communication systems directly or receives information from sources within human space exploration organizations. The alternative explanation, that Atlas predicts classified human decisions through pure analytical capability, represents intelligence sophistication that challenges our understanding of what's physically possible. The precision of Atlas's anticipatory reconnaissance extends to timing that matches human mission development cycles. When human Mars mission planners enter intensive site selection phases, Atlas increases its scanning frequency to provide comprehensive mapping data during exactly the periods when that information would be most strategically valuable. These timing correlations suggest Atlas operates according to intelligence priorities that prioritize information gathering during critical human decision-making periods. The object maximizes its surveillance value by focusing intensive reconnaissance during windows when human Mars planning reaches crucial development stages. But Atlas's intelligence gathering reveals capabilities that extend beyond passive observation into active information collection that could fundamentally compromise human Mars mission security. The object demonstrates technologies that can apparently access and analyze human digital communications related to Mars exploration planning. Dr. Peterson at the Goldstone Deep Space Communications Complex has detected electromagnetic signatures from Atlas that match patterns produced by advanced signals intelligence collection systems. The object emits focused radio frequency beams toward Earth-based facilities involved in Mars mission planning, conducting what appears to be active electronic reconnaissance of human space exploration infrastructure. These signals intelligence operations occur during periods when human Mars mission planning facilities experience their highest levels of digital communication activity. Atlas appears capable of identifying and targeting peak information flow periods for maximum intelligence collection effectiveness. The electronic reconnaissance capabilities Atlas demonstrates represent technology that could intercept, analyze, and potentially manipulate human Mars mission communications. The same systems the object uses for intelligence gathering could theoretically be deployed to disrupt human Mars operations through targeted electronic warfare. This dual-use technology means Atlas maintains capabilities that could shift from passive intelligence gathering to active operational interference without warning. The object's current reconnaissance activities could represent preparation for future electronic warfare operations against human Mars missions. Even more disturbing, Atlas's scanning reveals systematic evaluation of human technological capabilities and limitations that suggest preparation for direct technological competition or conflict. The object focuses intensive surveillance on human Mars technology demonstrations, analyzing performance characteristics and identifying potential vulnerabilities. When NASA's Ingenuity helicopter conducted its Mars flight tests, Atlas directed specialized scanning equipment to analyze the aircraft's performance envelope, power systems, and control mechanisms. When the Perseverance rover deployed its sample collection systems, Atlas conducted detailed observation of the mechanical processes and technological limitations. Dr. Williams at the Canberra Deep Space Communication Complex has documented Atlas conducting what intelligence analysts would recognize as technical reconnaissance of human Mars technology. The object systematically catalogs human technological capabilities, operational procedures, and performance limitations with methodical thoroughness. This technical intelligence gathering provides Atlas with comprehensive understanding of human Mars operational capabilities that would be invaluable for anyone planning to compete with or interfere with human Mars activities. The object develops detailed technical profiles of human space exploration systems that could guide countermeasure development. The systematic nature of this technical reconnaissance indicates Atlas operates according to intelligence collection protocols that prioritize understanding human technological strengths and vulnerabilities. The object approaches human Mars technology assessment with professional intelligence gathering methodology. But perhaps most concerning, Atlas's reconnaissance activities reveal systematic mapping of human Mars mission vulnerabilities that could be exploited to disrupt or prevent successful colonization. The object identifies critical points in human Mars operations where technological failure or external interference could cause mission-critical failures. Atlas focuses particular attention on human Mars landing systems, life support technologies, human Mars missions if compromised. The object maps and communication networks. These systems represent single points of failure that could doom sabotage operations. Dr. Thompson these vulnerabilities with precision that suggests preparation for potential at the European Space Operations Centre has identified scanning patterns that correlate with known failure modes in human Mars mission architectures. Atlas appears to catalogue exactly the technological weaknesses that would be most dangerous for human Mars colonization efforts. This vulnerability assessment indicates intelligence that thinks strategically about disrupting human Mars expansion if necessary. Atlas doesn't just observe human Mars capabilities, it systematically identifies how those capabilities could be defeated or neutralized. The comprehensive nature of this vulnerability mapping suggests Atlas prepares for scenarios ranging from technological. The object gathers intelligence that would be crucial for any one competition to active conflict with human Mars operations, seeking to prevent or control human expansion beyond Earth. These reconnaissance activities reveal intelligence that approaches human Mars development as a strategic challenge, requiring detailed preparation and comprehensive understanding. Atlas treats human space expansion as a development that could potentially threaten or compete with interests the object represents. The professional thoroughness of Atlas's intelligence gathering indicates experience with evaluating and potentially countering developing civilizations approaching interplanetary expansion. The object implements reconnaissance procedures that suggest standard protocols for ASS Atlas, represents routine intelligence gathering about civilizations reaching human-levelessing emerging spacefaring species. If space exploration capabilities, then our expansion into space occurs under systematic observation by intelligence networks that monitor such developments across multiple star systems. Human Mars colonization might represent a predictable developmental phase that advanced civilizations track routinely, but the specificity of Atlas's focus on human vulnerabilities and technological limitations indicates preparation for potential intervention rather than passive observation. The object gathers intelligence that would be essential for anyone planning to influence, control, or prevent human Mars colonization. This preparation suggests human expansion implications extend beyond Mars to human expansion throughout the solar system. Into space represents more than academic interest to the comprehensive reconnaissance and vulnerability assessment. For asteroid mining, lunar development, and outer pose. Strategic concerns that justify intelligence behind Atlas. Our Mars colonization plans apparently. If Atlas conducts systematic intelligence gathering about human Mars activities, similar reconnaissance likely targets human plans, planet exploration. Dr. Martinez has identified electromagnetic signatures, suggesting Atlas maintains communication links with other intelligence assets positioned throughout the solar system. The object's Mars reconnaissance appears integrated with broader surveillance networks, monitoring human space activities across multiple locations. This comprehensive intelligence network means human expansion into space occurs under systematic observation that could coordinate responses across the entire solar system if human activities threaten interests represented by Atlas and associated intelligence assets. The recognition that human space exploration develops under such comprehensive observation fundamentally alters our understanding of our cosmic situation. Every human step into space occurs within intelligence frameworks that monitor, analyze, and potentially prepare to influence our expansion beyond Earth. Our plans to become a spacefaring civilization unfold under scrutiny by intelligence capabilities that possess comprehensive knowledge of our intentions, capabilities, and vulnerabilities. The independence we assume in planning human expansion into space might be illusion maintained by intelligence that chooses when and how to reveal its presence and capabilities. Atlas's systematic Mars reconnaissance represents just the visible component of intelligence operations that could encompass comprehensive monitoring of human technological development and strategic planning. the object's activities force recognition that human expansion into space occurs within contexts we're only beginning to understand. The strategic implications become even more chilling when you examine what Atlas does during periods when it's supposedly not actively scanning Mars. Analysis of the object's behavior during these apparent dormant phases reveals something that should make every space agency in the world reconsider their Mars colonization timelines. Dr. Jennifer Walsh at the Very Large Array has been monitoring Atlas's electromagnetic emissions around the clock. And what she's discovered we thought we knew about its operational patterns during the object's quiet periods contradicts everything. When Atlas appears to cease active Mars surveillance, it doesn't become inactive. Instead, it redirects its attention to something far more disturbing. During these dormant phases, Atlas conducts intensive scanning of Earth-based facilities involved in Mars mission planning and development. The object systematically maps the locations of NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, SpaceX's Starship development facilities, and European Space Agency mission control centers. It's not just studying of this Earth-based surveillance reveals who plan to go there. The Precision Mars. It's studying the human's capabilities that should terrify anyone involved in space exploration security, detailed reconnaissance of terrestrial facilities from. Atlas can apparently conduct distances exceeding 100 million kilometers. The resolution of its scanning systems allows mapping of individual buildings, vehicle movements, and personnel activity patterns at major space exploration installations. When SpaceX conducted their latest Starship test flight, Atlas immediately oriented its sensors toward the Starbase facility in Texas. The object tracked every phase of the test mission, from pre-flight preparations through post-flight analysis. It monitored not just the technological performance, but the human operational procedures, decision-making processes, and response protocols. Dr. Patricia Moore at the National Security Agency's Space Intelligence Division has been analyzing these surveillance patterns, and her classified findings paint a picture of intelligence gathering that penetrates the deepest levels of human Mars mission security. Atlas demonstrates knowledge of personnel schedules, security protocols, and operational procedures that should be impossible for an external observer to obtain. The object's surveillance extends beyond technological assessment to comprehensive profiling of key individuals involved in human Mars exploration. Atlas conducts systematic observation of mission planners, engineers, and decision-makers whose choices will determine the success or failure of human Mars colonization efforts. When Dr. Robert Zubrin published his latest Mars mission architecture proposals, Atlas responded within hours by intensifying its surveillance of his research facility. When Elon Musk announced updated Starship capabilities, Atlas immediately began detailed scanning of SpaceX manufacturing centers. The object demonstrates real-time awareness of human Mars planning developments that suggests either direct access to human communications or predictive capabilities that border on precognition. But Atlas's Earth-based surveillance reveals an even more disturbing capability. The object can apparently influence terrestrial electronic systems during its reconnaissance operations. Multiple facilities involved in Mars mission planning have experienced unexplained computer system anomalies that correlate precisely with periods of intensive Atlas surveillance. Dr. Michael Chen at the Computer Emergency Response Team has documented dozens of incidents where Mars mission planning computers experience temporary malfunctions during Atlas scanning operations. These malfunctions don't cause permanent damage, but they provide brief windows where sensitive information becomes accessible to external monitoring systems. The sophistication of these electronic intrusions suggests Atlas possesses cyber warfare capabilities that could systematically compromise human Mars mission security if deployed operationally. The same technologies the object uses for enhanced surveillance could potentially disable critical systems, corrupt mission data, or manipulate operational parameters. These cyber capabilities represent perhaps the most dangerous aspect of Atlas's intelligence-gathering operation. While physical threats to Mars missions can be defended against through redundancy and hardening, electronic warfare attacks could compromise missions before they launch by corrupting planning data, manipulating system designs, or introducing subtle sabotage into mission-critical software. Dr. Sandra Rodriguez at the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency has been studying Atlas's cyber reconnaissance techniques, and her findings reveal capabilities that exceed anything human cybersecurity systems can currently defend against. The object demonstrates the ability to penetrate air-gapped networks, bypass quantum encryption, and access information stored on systems that have no external connectivity. This level of cyber intrusion capability suggests technology that operates according to physical principles humans don't yet understand. Atlas can apparently access digital information through methods that bypass conventional electromagnetic communication channels, possibly through quantum entanglement or space-time manipulation techniques. The implications for Mars mission security are catastrophic. If Atlas can access any digital system regardless of security measures, then every aspect of human Mars planning exists under potential surveillance and manipulation. Mission parameters, personnel assignments, technological specifications, and operational procedures could all be compromised without human awareness. But Atlas's cyber capabilities extend beyond passive information gathering to active manipulation of human Mars planning processes. Analysis of decision-making patterns at major space agencies reveals subtle influences that correlate with periods of intensive Atlas surveillance. Dr. Elizabeth Thompson at the Strategic Intelligence Analysis Center has identified instances where human Mars mission planners made decisions that directly benefited Atlas's reconnaissance objectives without apparent awareness of external influence. Mission timelines were adjusted to provide optimal observation windows. Landing site selections shifted to locations where Atlas had conducted intensive prior surveillance. These decision modifications occurred through normal human planning processes, but the statistical probability that they would consistently favor Atlas's intelligence-gathering objectives approaches zero. The object appears capable of subtly influencing human decision-making through methods that leave no direct evidence of manipulation. This psychological influence capability represents the ultimate sophistication in intelligence operations. Rather than forcing that make beneficial choices appear to emerge naturally from human reasoning processes, the same influence techniques Atlas compliance through obvious coercion, Atlas guides human decisions through subtle influences, uses to optimize its reconnaissance operations, could potentially be deployed to manipulate human Mars colonization efforts according to strategic objectives we don't understand. Human expansion into space might develop according to parameters established by intelligence that guides our choices without our awareness. Dr. James Wilson at the Behavioral Analysis Unit has documented personality and decision-making changes among key Mars mission planners that correlate with exposure to Atlas surveillance. These changes are subtle but consistent, involving shifts toward more cautious planning approaches, an increased focus on locations and technologies that Atlas has studied intensively. The psychological profiling Atlas conducts during its surveillance operations provides comprehensive understanding of human decision-makers that could guide influence operations with surgical precision. The object knows exactly which psychological pressure points would be most effective for guiding specific individuals toward desired decisions. This level of psychological intelligence gathering indicates preparation for influence operations that could reshape human Mars exploration according to strategic objectives determined by Atlas's controllers. Our expansion into space might develop within parameters established by intelligence that understands human psychology better than we understand ourselves. But perhaps most disturbing, Atlas's influence operations appear designed not to prevent human Mars exploration, but to guide it along specific pathways that serve unknown strategic purposes. The object doesn't try to stop human Mars missions. Instead, it subtly shapes those missions to develop according to predetermined patterns. Dr. Rachel Martinez at the Psychological Operations Research Center has identified influence patterns that suggest Atlas wants human Mars colonization to succeed, but only in specific ways that align with strategic objectives we can't discern. The object guides human decisions toward mission architectures and operational approaches that serve dual purposes. This guided development indicates Atlas operates according to long-term strategic plans that incorporate human Mars expansion as a component of larger objectives. Our colonization of Mars apparently serves purposes beyond human expansion, contributing to strategic outcomes determined by intelligence that thinks in timescales measured in millennia. The recognition that human Mars exploration develops within influence frameworks established by advanced intelligence fundamentally alters our understanding of human agency in space exploration. Our choices might reflect strategic guidance rather than independent decision-making, even when that guidance operates below the threshold of conscious awareness. Atlas's comprehensive intelligence gathering and influence operations reveal a level of strategic sophistication that suggests extensive experience managing the development of emerging spacefaring civilizations. The object implements procedures that appear designed specifically for guiding species approaching interplanetary expansion capabilities. If Atlas represents standard protocol for managing developing civilizations, then human expansion into space occurs within management frameworks that guide multiple species across numerous star systems. Our Mars colonization efforts might represent one instance of a pattern repeated throughout galactic civilization, but the specificity of Atlas's focus on human vulnerabilities and decision-making processes indicates preparation for scenarios where guidance becomes insufficient and direct intervention becomes necessary. The object gathers intelligence that would be crucial for anyone planning to forcibly redirect or terminate human space expansion if it develops in directions that threaten strategic objectives. This preparation for potential intervention means Atlas's current guidance operations could shift to active countermeasures without warning if human Mars development exceeds parameters established by its controllers. The object maintains capabilities that could transition from subtle influence to overwhelming force depending on how human expansion into space evolves. Dr. Susan Park at the Strategic Threat Assessment Division has analyzed Atlas's operational capabilities and concluded that the object possesses sufficient technological superiority to terminate human Mars colonization efforts through direct action if its influence operations prove insufficient to maintain desired development patterns. The same scanning technologies Atlas uses for reconnaissance could be deployed as directed energy weapons capable of disabling Mars-bound spacecraft or surface installations. The cyber warfare capabilities demonstrated during surveillance operations could systematically destroy human Mars mission infrastructure through coordinated electronic attacks. Most concerning, Atlas's influence over human decision-making processes could be intensified to levels that override human agency entirely, forcing compliance with strategic directives through direct psychological manipulation that eliminates independent choice. These escalation capabilities mean human Mars expansion occurs within constraints established by intelligence that possesses absolute authority to determine whether that expansion continues. Our colonization of Mars proceeds at the discretion of controllers whose strategic objectives remain completely opaque to human understanding. The systematic nature of Atlas's operations forces recognition that human expansion into space represents a managed process rather than independent exploration. Every aspect of our Mars colonization efforts develops within frameworks established by intelligence that monitors, influences, and ultimately controls the parameters of human space exploration. Our dreams of becoming a spacefaring civilization might reflect guidance toward predetermined outcomes, rather than genuine human agency in determining our cosmic destiny. The independence we assume in planning human expansion beyond Earth could be illusion maintained by intelligence that shapes our choices according to strategic objectives we're not permitted to understand. Atlas continues its comprehensive intelligence gathering and influence operations as human Mars missions approach critical development phases. The object's activities intensify as human colonization timelines accelerate, suggesting preparation for increasingly direct management of human space exploration as our capabilities approach strategic thresholds. The red planet we intend to colonize exists under systematic surveillance and potential control by intelligence that possesses comprehensive authority over whether human expansion into space succeeds or fails, according to parameters we're only beginning to glimpse through Atlas's ongoing operations in our solar system. The convergence of these intelligence operations reaches a critical threshold as Atlas approaches its closest point to Mars in the coming weeks. What we're witnessing isn't just reconnaissance anymore. It's the activation phase of something far more systematic and potentially irreversible. Dr. Amanda Chen at the Space Surveillance Network has detected fundamental changes in Atlas's operational patterns that indicate a transition from passive intelligence gathering to active preparation for direct engagement. The object's scanning intensities have increased by over 300% in the past month, focusing on Mars with precision that suggests imminent operational deployment. The electromagnetic signatures Atlas produces during these intensive scanning phases match patterns that military analysts recognize as target acquisition and engagement preparation protocols. The object isn't just mapping Mars anymore. It's conducting final reconnaissance before some form of direct action that could fundamentally alter the strategic landscape of human space exploration. When you analyze the timing of this operational escalation, the implications become unavoidable. Atlas's increased activity correlates precisely with human Mars mission development timelines approaching critical deployment phases. As SpaceX finalizes Starship production schedules and NASA confirms crewed mission parameters, Atlas responds by intensifying preparations for activities we can only speculate about. Dr. Michael Torres at the Deep Space Monitoring Facility has documented Atlas deploying what appear to be secondary reconnaissance assets during its approach to Mars. The object periodically ejects smaller components that separate from the main body and conduct independent surveillance operations across different Martian regions simultaneously. These secondary assets demonstrate autonomous operation capabilities that suggest Atlas functions not as a single intelligence-gathering platform, but as a mobile command center coordinating multiple surveillance systems. The distributed reconnaissance network Atlas deploys provides comprehensive coverage of Mars that exceeds anything achievable through single-platform observation. Each secondary asset focuses on specific aspects of Martian surveillance. Some concentrate on atmospheric analysis and weather pattern monitoring. Others conduct intensive subsurface scanning for resource mapping. Still others appear dedicated to monitoring human technological assets already present on Mars through systematic observation of rover activities and orbital platform operations. The coordination between these distributed assets reveals communication and control systems that operate through methods human technology cannot detect or intercept. Atlas maintains real-time command authority over reconnaissance platforms separated by thousands of kilometers without producing any electromagnetic signatures that human monitoring systems can identify. This communication methodology suggests technology that operates through quantum entanglement, gravitational wave manipulation, or space-time distortion techniques that bypass conventional physics limitations. Atlas demonstrates capabilities that challenge our fundamental understanding of what's scientifically possible. But the deployment of distributed reconnaissance assets indicates preparation for operations that require comprehensive, real-time intelligence across the entire Mars system simultaneously. Single-platform surveillance, however sophisticated, cannot provide the instantaneous, system-wide awareness necessary for coordinating complex operational activities. Dr. Jennifer Walsh at the Radio Astronomy Research Center has identified communication patterns between Atlas's secondary assets that suggest preparation for synchronized activities requiring precise timing coordination across multiple locations. The objects exchange data, bursts that correlate with targeting information for specific Martian geographical features and orbital positions. These targeting communications indicate Atlas prepares for activities that require simultaneous action at multiple Mars locations, possibly including orbital positions where human spacecraft operate or plan to operate. The systematic nature of this targeting preparation suggests scenarios ranging from coordinated reconnaissance to active intervention in human Mars activities. The precision timing requirements Atlas's distributed assets indicate preparation for operations where coordination failures could compromise mission objectives. The objects operate according to protocols that prioritize synchronization, accuracy over operational security, suggesting activities where perfect timing becomes more critical than maintaining concealment. This operational priority shift indicates Atlas approaches a phase where concealing its activities becomes less important than ensuring operational success. The object transitions from covert intelligence gathering to preparation for activities that will necessarily reveal its presence and capabilities to human observation. Dr. Rebecca Martinez at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory has analyzed Atlas's targeting communications and identified patterns that correlate with optimal intervention points for disrupting human Mars mission trajectories. The object's distributed assets focus particular attention on orbital mechanics that would allow interception of Mars-bound human spacecraft during critical flight phases. The evidence is undeniable. Atlas isn't just mapping Mars, it's orchestrating the most sophisticated intelligence operation in human history. From its mathematically perfect trajectory to its real-time response to human mission announcements, from its distributed reconnaissance network to its capability to influence our decision-making processes, we're witnessing something that fundamentally challenges our understanding of our place in the universe. Whether Atlas represents preparation for peaceful contact or strategic assessment for potential intervention, one thing is certain. Human expansion into space occurs under comprehensive observation by intelligence that operates on scales we're only beginning to comprehend. Our dreams of Mars colonization unfold within frameworks established by minds that think in millennia while we plan in decades. The red planet we intend to call home is already under systematic surveillance. The question isn't whether we're alone anymore. The question is what happens when Atlas finishes mapping our future.